Hello everybody. Today you're going to learn more about SuiteCRM hosting and SuiteCRM development and customization from the project management side of things. My name is Bastian Hammer, your go-to expert when it comes to all things CRM, marketing automation, e-commerce and sales integration. Okay, so let's go. Let's go into the details of SuiteCRM hosting and development. As you might have noticed already, SuiteCRM is open source. That means the source code is distributed under an open source license. You are allowed to install it in your own environment and you don't have to pay for using the source code. You have a couple of obligations, so if you change the source code, you have to redistribute it as well under the same license and other details. But if you're just using it for yourself, for your own company, then you're totally fine. Go ahead and do this. That means you can self-host the whole system. So there's an option with SaaS as well, but it is possible to self-host this if you've already got, let's say, your hosting package, or you've already got your VPS server somewhere, your internal server. Then you can install the SuiteCRM environment, the SuiteCRM system there for free, basically. So why to do something like self-hosting if everything nowadays is SaaS and only one click and no IT anymore? There are quite a couple of reasons why companies choose to do this by themselves. So just to list a few, so there's the data sovereignty. That means you can have access to your own data and you will confirm with everybody, or you will justify who else has access to your data. It makes sense if you think about a SaaS company, so all your data that you're entering, your whole, like let's say Salesforce, Soho and so on, you're entering data and everything that you enter is somewhere in a data center. You have no idea who has access. You have no idea what they do with the data. Of course, you read all the terms and conditions, and if they submit to their own terms and conditions, then of course you kind of know what they do with this. But yeah, I've got a couple of customers. They do not want to have their data in some cloud areas where they could have like third parties accessing it in the worst case. There could be data breaches. So if I install SuiteCRM locally at home in my own network, and this network doesn't have a connection to the internet, it is very safe. So unless my home is burning down or somebody is breaking into my home and then stealing my server, the data will always be there and safe. So, and the cost, of course, so if you go for Salesforce, it's quite pricey. And if you just like run a small business or something, and then you have all the features that are basically out of the box in SuiteCRM, and that's everything that you need. Of course, you can go for Salesforce. Of course, it looks better, and you can do way more with Salesforce. But why would you if everything that you need, all your requirements are fulfilled already by SuiteCRM, for instance? Okay, so, but this implies something. So if you have this open source, you need to do the installation, which will basically take some time. It will cost something. You need to do the installation on an environment, and you need to take care of upgrades as well. Again, if you use SaaS, they are upgrading all the time. It could be that some of your features will be discontinued, APIs or whatever will be changing, so you are forced to act. And here, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I didn't say this aloud. So you should always keep your system up to date. You should install all the upgrades and keep the system secure, basically. But I've got like 1 or 2 projects where they have like a very old installation in a secured environment for a couple of reasons, and it works very well since long time already without any upgrades or so. But I urge you to do this. There are new features. The security especially is very important. So therefore, upgrades, plan this into your maintenance cost, basically. So how to do this. So hosting first. So the installation on a shared hosting environment means like maybe you've got a GoDaddy, a Namecheap or whatever account. You're hosting your WordPress website or whichever there already. And now it is technically possible to install SuiteCRM just beside it in a subfolder or in a subdomain or something. There are a couple of restrictions. So you've got, for instance, SSH. This would be good to have. It's still possible to work around without it, but it's difficult. It's more work and it's a bit inconvenient. So therefore, try to focus on those hosting packages with SSH enabled. Some have like different package classes, and then the premium package has SSH and the standard package doesn't. Then go for the premium. It's still fairly cheap normally. Then you've got potential issues with permissions and performance. Well, performance, if you've got like a small environment, not too much data, not too many people working on the system, you should usually be fine with any shared hosting environment. Permissions can be a bit tricky depending on what you can do inside your FTP program or how you can log into this one. So I had some troubles there, and it will take much longer. Still, try to aim for SSH if possible. And the upgrades are more difficult. You always have the choice to download everything. Maybe on the weekend you put your CRM system under maintenance. Nobody should enter new data. You download, do an upgrade locally, and then upload everything again. It is possible, but as I said, a bit more inconvenient, and it could be that it fails inside web hosting shared environments. So it's not really recommended, but it's still technically possible. Sometimes it's even possible like to use 90% of the system and just like 2-3 features don't work. If you don't need those features, well, it's not nice, but technically it's possible. Then I've noticed this already several times when installing SuiteCRM in web hosting environments. There are technical restrictions. So debugging is one thing. Sometimes you don't have access to all the log files that you sometimes need to look at if there's a problem. PHP, the ini file for doing some configurations. Maybe there are some limitations of your web host and you just can't overcome them without deeper configuration options. So therefore, if you anyhow can avoid it, avoid this, because it will, or it could result into more work. It will just be slower and more cumbersome. But technically, if there's no other option, it is possible that you can make it work. Then the next option that you've got is like an installation on a managed VPS, on a cloud environment, for instance, Cloudways or something. So you've got a bit SSH freedom, so you can't do everything which you could do on your own server as well. But therefore, you can do like basics like upgrading the system. Installing Composer might be more difficult, so you have to look into this, whether this works. Sometimes it's possible to install a local Composer environment. So it is technically a bit more challenging, of course, but therefore you've got like a real environment and you can work with this in a bit more flexible manners. And if you have any external, like me or any other consultant or external technical help, they will always be happy if there is some SSH available, because it just works much easier on working with the system, working on DevOps administration and stuff. So the debugging can still be a challenge. I had that before where something just didn't work. I had SSH access, but in the logs nothing showed up and I couldn't configure the logs as I wanted to freely. So it was a bit difficult, and it could still run into issues, but usually if you use like some kind of managed VPS and cloud servers, then you should be into the right direction, and it makes your life much easier because you don't have to care about the server. You just install your SuiteCRM system, and here and there you have to do a little bit maintenance on the SuiteCRM system itself. And The last option where you would eventually probably arrive if you're growing and growing, you will install your SuiteCRM system on your VPS. On the VPS, you got root access and you can do whatever you like to. That usually means like you can configure your database, your web server environment. You can tweak the configurations. Maybe you can install like a caching layer or something to make everything faster. Yes, you just got SSH freedom, so you can do whatever you see fit in order to make your CRM system better, faster, more reliable, and easier backups, for instance. But of course, now there is technical knowledge required. For installation, independent where you install it, check out the compatibility matrix of SuiteCRM on the documentation. I link this in the description. And you will notice that even if you don't have the right environment, it could be that your CRM again like runs up to 90% and there's like 1, 2, 3 features which don't run. Probably this happened before to me, but usually try to stick to it. So you first would go ahead and check the compatibility matrix, and then after seeing this one, you would research your hosting options and which kind of hosting provider or which kind of server you would install eventually, so that everything installation and work on the CRM system will later on be all smooth and not basically blocked by wrong system environments. Okay. So overall, hosting is not too difficult. Usually it takes just maybe 1, 2, 3 hours of installation for the CRM system, maybe with a server additional a couple of hours, and then you're ready to go. In the best case, you don't need to change anything anymore for the next few months, quarters. Maybe then there will be an upgrade later on. The upgrades got much more easy now with the SuiteCRM 8 around. And you need to do server upgrades, which are usually easy as well. You can even partly automate this on a Debian box or in a Ubuntu server. So therefore, don't be too scared about the hosting, but make sure that you have got some technical knowledge or some technical help, and try to aim for VPS, because this is like the best basis that you can grant your CRM system. So how would you do this with development and with the hosting? So in the most simplest version, you've got your installed CRM system on your, let's say, web hosting package or something. So you've got a live environment here on the right hand side on the server. Now you want to change something in a file. So you read something on my guides where to change something, or you found something on the forums how to adjust a file to your needs, and then you can basically easily download the file to your local computer. You just change the code, you kind of make sure that it fits, and then you upload and simply test it. Usually you won't break anything unless you've got like huge SQL statements inside your code or something which would update or migrate something. If it's just a small configuration change like a var defs or whatever, check out my video on the var defs, for instance, and then it should be totally fine. You would simply rerun or like upload it and test it, rerun it on your SuiteCRM system, maybe do a rebuild, and then it should be working. Still, before this, do a backup. It's always wise to do this. And again, if you have a VPS, the backup might just be a snapshot away, especially nice with the cloud offers like Cloudways and stuff. If you have a VPS, you just click on backup and it will take a snapshot for you. If you've got a web hosting package, it's more difficult. Maybe you have to download all the files inside like one by one. It works with you just download the root folder, but still it's downloading all the files, and it takes like an hour or more to download all the files because it's so many, and therefore it's just inconvenient. Again, go for VPS hosting whenever you want to change or grow with your CRM system because it's just much easier. So, and then the next level, if you're growing, and then you could build up a kind of a development environment. Maybe you've got an external software developer who's helping. Maybe you want to do a little bit more with customization of your CRM system, and you're just taking it to the next level. You really want to double down on it and have your whole business or like parts of your business running on the CRM. And therefore, you do all the customizations inside your CRM. Additionally, you work on development sometimes here and there where it's reasonable. So how to build up this environment? Usually on the left-hand side, you've got a local computer, like a dev server, could be possible as well. And then you're writing your code there. You make sure that it works, if it works, and then you would push it into a version control system, something like GitHub or similar. And then you've got kind of a documentation, what happened when. Probably you've got all your tasks, your requirements. If you work with like a product owner and development structure, then the product owner is creating all the tasks with the new requirements or the use cases, and then the developer will check out the use cases, starts working on the use cases, test it technically, then is pushing it into the version control system, and then pushing it into the staging environment. So the staging environment is basically like a copy of your live environment. Ideally, you've got the integrations and the data working there as well. So it's always difficult for developers to test something where you have like a system load, which is depending on like 500,000 records or something, and they need to do something, and you've got integrations with other systems, and locally usually there is no integration. Developers sometimes have to fake a little bit the data or something, and then push it to the staging environment. But at least at the staging environment, you should try to build up some kind of similar to the live environment. It's seldom like 100% like the live environment, but try to get as close as possible. So, and there on the staging environment, you would usually do the integration test and the business side of things test, where you go, is the requirement fulfilled? On the technical side, of course, because it's working, integration into other systems. Maybe you would go into the business processes and see, was the requirement formulated in the right way, or was there a gap in the details of the tickets before it got developed. So therefore, with a staging environment, basically it's the job of the product owner to test all the details. And if the product owner or the product manager then says, okay, that's all good, let's deploy it live. Usually if you arrived here in this kind of structured environment, you've got a couple of dozen people working on your CRM system, then you would inform the team, like, we will have a downtime of, let's say, half an hour and that time. And then you would push the whole thing to live. So you need to make sure, if you have system integrations, that the system integrations are still keep on working if you take the live system offline, or that things that happen during this time of maintenance, that it will still be replayed or retried after the system is live and back online. But yeah, so if you arrived here, then you've got way more technical background, and it will be much more easier for you to figure out how to deploy to live, when to deploy to live, and exactly what other systems are affected in those cases. This one here is a much more secure or solid way to develop. I jumped back again to this one before. So of course you can do this one here. You have got like only the web hosting package, and then you've got a couple of files roaming around on your own server or on your own local computer, and you're uploading them when you have any changes. Or you've got all this structure here built up with systems in the middle, with systems to test and so on. And you can of course think about all variations in between of those two as well. So just in order to to help you growing. You don't have to switch from 0 to 100. You can do it in incremental steps and get here eventually if you really want to develop a lot. One word of advice: don't develop if it's not necessary. I see it very often in the project management side of things, or in the C-level area, that there are some requirements. And if you formulate a requirement like, I want to have the CRM doing that, can it do that? And no, it can't do that, but a developer will always answer, of course we can implement this. If it's anyhow possible to avoid development, and then you will have a good chance of reducing cost issues when you're upgrading and stuff like this. So really think long about whether you want to go into development, how your customization will be done inside your CRM system, how you want to do all your testing and all your backups and everything before you just go to a development company and develop everything. Of course, I've done plenty of development, and eventually it will be the best way for any company which is growing, and your system will be adjusted to your needs. Everything will work smoother, and you will see you're building up structures and processes inside your system, and your whole company will be based on the CRM. And it's really, really great to see this development of the processes which are getting better, more automated, and everything grows. But at the same time, you're going into like a one-way direction with this. You can't easily turn around and move away from custom development once you took a step into this direction. There is the option of trying to use integration more than custom development on the SuiteCRM side itself. That works if you do work with like back-end systems and they need to communicate with each other better than if you have front-end systems and if you have restrictions or stuff on the front-end system in the user interface which needs to happen there. Okay, let's quickly recap. So we've talked about hosting. Basically, it's possible to host your CRM system in all sorts of environments. If you have an own server, this will be the easiest option because you have a better control. Of course, technically it's a bit more challenging, but therefore you've got many options which will be much more inconvenient and slower to do this on a standard web hosting package from any of the big providers. Then we looked into the development. Of course, you can start very simple, just downloading files, adjusting something according to some code snippets that you found, and uploading and testing. Take a backup before you do that. Or you can progress into a whole development process where you've got different systems, and those different systems have like a defined functionality inside your development process. SuiteCRM supports it all. You can start small and then grow, and it's very nice to see how the processes grow, how the system is getting better, and how it interacts in a better way with your business processes and your customers eventually. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.